So today marks the second day of the Kavanaugh hearings, and already it's produced a ton of dramatic moments, from the arrests of protesters to the interruptions by the Democrats. But one actually stands out quite a bit as something that really defines who Brett Kavanaugh is as a person. Now, it happened when the nominee declined to shake hands with a man named Fred Gutenberg. Now, who's Fred Gutenberg? Well, Gutenberg is actually the father of a young girl who died in the school shooting in Parkland, Florida. Now, Gutenberg's daughter, Jamie, was 14 when she was killed by the gunman who opened fire at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in February. And since then, of course, Gutenberg has become a vocal proponent of gun control measures. Now, as Tuesday's morning session ended, Gutenberg said he approached Kavanaugh for a handshake. He said, quote, "Put out my hand to introduce myself as Jamie Gutenberg's dad." He pulled his hand back, turned his back to me, and walked away. I guess he did not want to deal with the reality of gun violence. So later on, we're going to show you a video of him on CNN basically talking about this. But look, what he did, what Kavanaugh did, that's cold, man. Total snub. Now, the White House, of course, pushed back. You're going to love this excuse. In a tweet, White House Deputy Press Secretary Raj Shah described the encounter this way. As Judge Kavanaugh left for his lunch break, an unidentified individual approached him. Before the judge was able to shake his hand, security had intervened. Now, oh no, it's security. Not my fault. Not Judge Kavanaugh's fault. He didn't do anything. No, it's just this rando coming up and trying to get in here, and security was like, I don't think so. How convenient of an excuse. I mean, what, you think he might have been a security threat going along with their logic? Well, he wasn't before, but afterwards, they sure considered him one. But before I get to that, I want to go to Gutenberg here on CNN. Let's take a look.
I was there all day, as you said, the request of Senator Feinstein. And when I was listening to Judge Kavanaugh this morning at his introduction, he looked over at his family. And he specifically talked about his kids. And he's got a beautiful family. I went up to him as a dad, to be quite honest. I don't go home to my complete family anymore. My daughter was killed. And I am really concerned about how he is going to rule on certain things that matter a lot to me, because I don't want to see other families go through what we've gone through. The NRA is spending a lot of money to help get him selected. But the problem is they're also filing lawsuits all over the country. Florida, for example, we actually passed gun safety after what happened in Parkland. The NRA filed a lawsuit. These lawsuits are going to end up in front of a Justice Kavanaugh. And unfortunately, based upon his prior statements and rulings, we can predict how he's going to rule. Candidly, my hope to him was simply to say, I hope you change your stance. I hope you look in my eye. I hope you see that this pin that I wear on my lapel or these bracelets that I wear, that's all I have to get close to my daughter now. And I hope you can be part of making sure no other parent has to feel the way I do, because we can fix this. And I'm concerned that he won't be that person. But he's a father, and I was hoping to appeal to that.
Well, you saw how he reacted. He had no interest in speaking to this father because, look, as the guy put it, he's incredibly right-wing on guns. Look, let me give you some examples here. There was a 2011 dissent case, or I should say, in 2011, he dissented in a case while he was overruled by two other Republican-appointed judges. So these are right-wing judges, and Kavanaugh is even more right-wing. Now, what was this about? Well, the court's majority opinion in that specific case had upheld Washington, D.C.'s ban on semi-automatic firearms and its gun registration law. Kavanaugh was like, no. I'm going to dissent on both of those things. I think we shouldn't have a ban on semi-automatic firearms, and we shouldn't have gun registration. Shouldn't have any of that. In fact, in his dissent, he said there is no meaningful or persuasive distinction between a semi-automatic pistol and a semi-automatic rifle. No meaningful or persuasive distinction. They are the same thing. Pistol, same as a rifle. Nope, completely the same. Really, I find that a little difficult to believe. Not only that, but it gets more insane. He went on to compare a ban on a class of arms, such as so-called assault weapons, to a, quote, ban on a category of speech. Oh, no, you're banning speech. So let me get this right. Judge Kavanaugh is also very pro-corporate. He's pro-Citizens United, right? So he's pro-money is speech and pro-guns are speech, too. So now here's the question for Kavanaugh. So if you shoot somebody, does that just mean you're talking to them? I mean, the same thing. If you give somebody money is speech, then you're just talking to them, right? So if I shoot somebody, am I just talking to them? Is that pretty much the same as using caps lock to yell at them? Kinda. At least maybe in his mind. I don't know. I mean, if guns are speech, then speech can't be regulated, at least according to conservatives. Although, of course, speech most certainly can be regulated when it comes to yelling fire in a crowded theater, for example. Their argument, no, you can't. And if that's the argument, which is what they use, of course, to argue against campaign contribution limits, well, then guns also, by definition, if they're an expression of free speech, also can't be regulated. Does that mean he thinks we should be able to go out and buy automatic weapons? There's also an argument being made that you should be able to. Hey man, automatic weapons, that's my speech. If I want to go out and get an AK-47, that's my right. Why are you going to take away my free speech? Why are you going to take away my rights, man? It's insanity. Going back to Gutenberg, no wonder Kavanaugh doesn't have any interest in shaking his hand. It really does show that he doesn't care about the victims of mass shootings. Now, look, I'd understand maybe if he was like, hey, look, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about your daughter. I'm sorry about, these mass shootings. I'm going to come up with something, and hopefully we can come up with something to put an end to these mass shootings. We happen to disagree on how to make that happen, but I want to make sure that no tragedies like this ever happen. Well, if he did that, then maybe you would think, okay, look, guys, he's obviously wrong on the policy positions, but hey, at least he's got empathy, and maybe you could try to break through to him. But no, he doesn't have empathy. In fact, I would argue that he has malice, that he hates these people. Oh, come on, Jeff. Malice? Are you kidding me? Well, let me tell you what happened afterwards before you get on me too much about that. According to Gutenberg, he said, what happened after lunch is that I got back in the room and sat down. And then security came back a couple of minutes later, pulled me out of the room, and said that they thought, or Judge Kavanaugh thought, that I may have crossed a boundary. Wait. Now, Gutenberg says, I think it definitely was the judge that asked the security guards to escort me out, because he described to authorities the bracelets the father wears to commemorate his slain daughter. So basically he's saying, I do think it was the judge that asked me to leave, because I had the temerity to approach him and say, hey, my daughter was murdered. I hope that you would change your position. I hope you change your vote. That was enough to get Kavanaugh, allegedly, to get security on him, to kick him out. Oh, no, I'm not going to be bothered by this rabble. Fathers of slain children by guns? Not interested. You don't pay you don't give me money. Like the NRA. I'm not interested in meeting them. I'm not interested in shaking their hands. Not interested in hearing their stories. Nope. Kick them out. I don't want them here. I don't care. If that's true, well, then that's who Brett Kavanaugh really is. And who he is a terrible person. He does not belong on the Supreme Court. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.